Hello, it's Michael, and I'm going to talk a little bit this morning about what I'm calling the ease curve. Now, for those of you who haven't watched some of my other videos, m.e.n.d is move, educate, nourish, decompress. I have other videos that show what I call the m.e.n.d curve, or the move curve, educate, nourish, decompress curve. So basically the curve looks like this. And there's the positive side of the curve going this way, and the negative side of the curve that goes this way. Now, +1 would be somebody that makes, in the case of moving, that basically they have some awareness of the fact that they need to move their body, and they do it every so often, but sometimes they kind of vacillate between moving and being lazy, or moving and not exercising, and they go back and forth. So a lot of people just kind of go back and forth to here, depending on their emotional state and their goals and ambitions at the time, which vacillate back and forth. So a person that's in number 2 area of the curve is somebody that has a higher level of awareness and makes more good decisions. And in the case of moving, they move themselves more than the person that would be in +1. And then also you can go further up the curve to +3, which would be somebody that is exceptionally aware and makes a lot of good decisions and puts a lot of energy into this area. So the contrary to that would be -1, -2, and -3. This would be somebody that decompresses mostly by sitting, watching TV, doesn't move very much, sits all the time at work, sits in the car, this type of thing. So, so what we're talking about today is the ease curve. Now, ease is a new concept that I was just kind of introduced to about a week ago with a fellow nurse named April. And she kind of was speaking to me about this, and I thought, well, my curve diagram is a pretty good way to represent what it is that she and I were talking about. So basically, what she was saying is that as human beings, if we would strive to try to get to ease in life, and that doesn't mean an easy life. That just means ease. So then we had to define, well, what is ease? And to her, it wasn't clearly defined. We still haven't come up with exactly what the definition with ease would be. But for me, it was, immediately I felt that peace and serenity is a type of ease. But also, for me, ease is basically these 6 tenets, which or what I try to focus on a daily basis as an ultimate goal. So I can actually clump these for me to mean ease. And for me, it would be a sense of safety, stability, calmness, contentment, a rather simple and not complex type of decision-making tree every day, and complex things they have to deal with. I mean, everybody has to deal with complexity, but the more simple you can make the things that you have a choice to make, then the more energy you can expend in the more important things that actually are complex. And then putting myself in a position to become a stronger person. And becoming a stronger person is not only physically, but emotionally, mentally, stronger relationships, this type of thing. So for me, this is what I'm going to call ease. Now, on the other side of the curve, you have dis-ease and unease. So, which is kind of the opposite of contentment, is uneasiness, is discontentment. So the question is it possible to create a life of ease versus a life of dis-ease and unease? And I definitely think that this is what the m.e.n.d philosophy is trying to do. This is a simple way to actually try and head into into a positive direction towards ease. So let's talk about dis-ease for a minute. So dis-ease is an accumulation of stress and stressors and positions that you put yourself in that cause a negative occurrence. And unease is feeling tension or stress because of these situations. Now, you're going to have stress throughout your lifetime, and because stress and suffering is just a normal part of human existence. But there are things that you can do to not exacerbate, not make your life more prone to disease or unease. So this is just by using good decision making skills and good, just good patterns and reactivity in your life. So what is disease or unease? Are things that make you feel bad. And then you have to ask yourself, what is bad? Because sometimes you tell yourself things make you feel good, or they actually do make you feel good, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not bad. So you have to question, is this thing that I'm doing, do I feel good when I do it? Or do I actually feel bad or worse after I do it? Because a lot of times we're prone to actually do some of these things like eating fast food, like drinking alcohol, like taking drugs, like smoking cigarettes, these types of things, because we tell ourselves that it makes us feel good, or it helps us out, it helps us get over the anxiety, or it helps us escape from whatever distress that we're in. But it is bad. So in that way, we may be harming ourselves physically, spiritually, emotionally, in these types of ways. And every time we do this, it's one step closer this way instead of the opposite way to ease. And then we create these habits. And I really liked what April said. Which her analogy was that the more you go this way, what happens? This is like, if this is like grass, and these habits or these patterns that we implement, they're like boulders, and we're just pushing them this way because this is what we do. These are our habits and our patterns. And what happens is this grass gets pressed down, and it makes it to where the habit or the behavior or the neural pathways are formed more and more this way, so it's just easier and easier to do it. So the question is, well, how do you start heading this way? If we've already pressed down the grass and made it to where it's an easy path to traverse this way because the grass isn't high anymore, if that makes sense. So what we need to do is we need to figure out a way to start heading this way and to let this grass grow bigger so that it's harder, it's less easy to make these bad decisions that are going to lead us to distress and disease and unease. So this just comes with awareness and intention. So you have to have intention, and you have to be able to have some kind of a simple way to create positive behaviors in your life, and that's what I believe m.e.n.d is. And this awareness is discovered in learning about yourself and educating yourself about yourself, and specifically through journaling. And I have another video that I'm going to post about the journal. I have a journal template online that you can download for free, and I recommend that you do this and do it for like cycles of 44 days. Is 30 to 44 days, and then after the 44 days, then destroy the previous one and start over again, and just continue the cycle of journaling, especially for like the first 6 months to a year of trying to make these changes and to head in this direction. So most of the things that we're trying to escape and avoid on this side are boredom, loneliness, angry, sad, stressed, or tired. So what happens is when we feel these emotions or these emotional states or intellectual states, then what we do is we try and escape them, and then we implement patterns, unhealthy patterns, to help us avoid the pain or distress of whatever else is going on. So if we can journal and we can actually acknowledge some of these emotional states, then we can come up with a plan to counteract this behavior and to head more in a more stable and better decision making way. So on the other side of this, you have ease. So what you need is a personal devotion to build ease into your life. So you're basically living with intention. So this just goes back to journaling. The journaling is a way for you to recognize every day that I am living with intention. This is what my plan is. This is the places that I failed today. These are the reasons I failed. This is the way that I become more prepared for tomorrow or for next week to overcome some of these failures and start heading in this direction. And it's a slow building process, building equity into your awareness of yourself and your preparedness in your life. And basically just you're giving yourself, just making yourself the priority in your life, caring for yourself. So you create these habits that are positive habits, not negative habits. And then you figure out what your motivation is, what your pull motivation. So I've talked about this in other videos. So there are two types of motivation. One motivation is push motivation, where basically the doctor tells you if you don't stop smoking, then I'm not going to be your doctor anymore. Or if you don't stop smoking, then you're probably going to die. Whatever, you know. So that's like, it's pushing. It's like it's basically you're trying to avoid the pain of whatever the repercussion is if you don't do this. And then the other type of motivation is pull motivation. So pull motivation is something that you want, that you desire, and that you're pulled towards. So what you want to figure out is what is your pull motivation? You know, is it that you want to live a full lifespan? Is it that you want to see your grandkids graduate high school? Is it that you want to be able to hike up a mountain when you're 70 years old? Is it that you want to be able to walk when you're 70 years old? So like what is your motivation? And you need to figure out a way to grab it and to head towards it instead of like always being pushed by whatever the negative thing is, you know, towards your motivation, and you tell yourself, well, I'm going to implement discipline and willpower, and that's going to allow me to achieve my goals, which is never the case. And then also ease, like I said, heading towards comfort and peace. And you know, there's going to be distress in your life. That's fine, because that's supposed to happen. That's just what human life is. But you can try and head towards comfort, peace, and ease. And then there are different types of ease. So you have physical, where you're trying to put yourself in a position to be in a physically better state of being. Then there's relational, emotional, social, spiritual, intellectual, and financial. So you can create ease in all of these different ways, and every time you do this, you're heading more up towards this area, and the further you get up here, it's just like here, you're building these pathways and this awareness and this equity and this basic idea of what you're trying to do is create a better life. You're taking ownership of your life and you're trying to create a better life. So that's basically it. They talk a little bit about this in Tibetan Buddhism as well. Some of the things that they talk about, basically here for dis-ease or unease, what they say is that there are 5 major areas that cause unease in human life, and that is called a klesha. So the 5 primary kleshas are desire and passion, anger and rage, pride or arrogance, jealousy, and ignorance or lack of knowledge. So you can see here that Just ignorance or lack of knowledge is kind of overcome just by watching these videos and trying to educate yourself about yourself and by journaling. So I can just kind of show you my journal here. This is what I'm doing right now. It's just, I do this every night. And I have been for a long time. It's not that inconvenient, and the gain of actually spending the time with a pencil on a piece of paper and to be able to quickly review your successes and failures is paramount to your success. Also in Mahamudra, this Tibetan Buddhism that I'm learning about, they talk about 3 obstructions and 4 reminders. So the 3 obstructions are the primary obstructions for humans creating a life of ease. So that is arrogance, reactivity, and patterns. So arrogance would be thinking that it's not your responsibility to actually even have involvement in this process. And if you don't have involvement, why would anybody else do it? It's not something that's just going to happen on its own. People that have exceptional lives don't just stumble into it. It doesn't just happen. It's not just genetics. It happens with intention, or it doesn't happen. And then the 4 reminders are basically that human existence is precious. It's a precious gift that you are actually born a human being, and that there's impermanence to that humanity. So at some point you're going to die. So you need to try and put yourself in a position to realize that, hey, this is my human lifespan. This is about where I'm at right now, and I've got this much left. So how can I do a good job with what's left? You really can't focus on what's happened in the past. You have to have an acknowledgement of it, but you can't spend too much energy on thinking about the past and the failures, because that just leads to pathology. So what you need to do is you need to focus on what's present right now, and what it is that you want the next 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years to look like, and come up with a plan on how are you going to achieve that. And it doesn't happen quickly. It's just baby steps. It's growth throughout your lifetime. So you have to have intention that throughout the rest of your life, you have to commit to yourself that you are going to work on yourself, that you are going to give yourself the gift of a wonderful, exceptional life. And then there's karma, which just basically means what you do matters. If you do good things, or positive things in this regard, then you reap positive benefits. In karma, if you do negative things, then you reap disease and unease and distress. So karma matters. And then human suffering, basically, that there's just human suffering in life. So when these things happen, you can't, which we can consider human suffering, blast, bored, lonely, angry, sad, stressed, tired, just for an example, then you can't implement unhealthy patterns and react unhealthily and expect to be on this side of the curve. If you don't have a relationship with suffering and an acknowledgement that suffering is going to happen, and if you don't have a plan on when I'm in distress, when I'm suffering, when I'm uneasy, what is it that I'm going to do that is a positive thing to help me decompress from this situation? So how can I nourish my body rather than poison my body because fast food helps me feel like less emotionally distressful? Or, I'm just going to veg out and watch TV because it takes my mind off of the suffering that I'm going through, rather than going on a walk or a hike or spending some time trying to strengthen your body. So you just need to, it's okay to do those things, but you have to have awareness of the quantity of your decompressing in a negative way, or the quantity of nourishing yourself or poisoning yourself or treating yourself. So you have to make sure that you're doing much more positive on a daily basis than negative, because negative will get you this way, will get you disease and unease. So, and I don't want that for you, and I don't want that for myself. So this is the reason that I make these videos, and I'm trying to help people figure out a way to get these little dots to live an exceptional life. So I hope this makes sense, and if you have any questions, send me an email and we'll talk about it. Thanks.